My favorite days, and you probably have your image of what a favorite day is, but a favorite day for me is when the chance comes along to do something good. It just kind of falls into your lap, a gift from God, an opportunity, and really there's not any thinking about it. It's not gray, it's not, you don't start weighing the pros or cons. It just kind of, it's there and you can do it. See the need and meet it. We have in our home more people than cars. And so sometimes we'll carpool, and one afternoon Shelley and I combined our tasks and we carpooled. And when I stopped by Sanford's workers' comp clinic to pick her up, kind of in North Fargo, she said to me, there's a man here who is going to have to walk over an hour to get back to his home because he wasn't able to get a ride. And so, sure enough, there he was starting to walk as we left, and we got as near as we could to him and called him over. Terrence was his name. It turned out he lived all the way from North Fargo, all the way down by the Essentia Hospital, south end of Fargo. And, of course, he was at workers' comp because he was injured. So we visited on the drive. Terrence grew up in Mississippi. And when he turned 18, his mom said, get out of here. She didn't say it quite like that. She said, I can take care of myself, and there's no opportunity for you here. Go somewhere where you can get a job and build a life. And so Terrence decided to move to California. And he got a job, and he got an apartment, and things were on an uphill climb, but going all right. And then the economy tanked, and he told the story of how the economy turned and how his hours got cut, and then his job got cut, and then it seemed like everybody's job was getting cut. And I said, Terrence, how did you end up from California in Fargo? And he said to me, I went online and I looked. I looked for jobs, I looked up cities to see where the jobs were, and Fargo kept coming up at the top of the list in the nation. And so I packed a bag, it's in California, put all I could get into one bag, got a bus ticket, and in January got a ride up to Fargo. Yeah, it was cold, he said, but I got a job. About that time, I got him to his apartment. He did tell about wanting basically just a job. It all starts with a job, he said, and then I hope to someday meet a woman, fall in love, have a family, have a safe home to live in, but I know it all has to start just by getting a job and start right there. And you know, visiting with Terrence, his words were refreshing. In a world where there is wealth and seemingly endless personal wants for seemingly endless luxuries that seem to complicate everything, honest work for an honest day's pay and the chance to build a life. There is talk about entertaining angels unaware. And being with Terrence on that short drive was like that. Extremely polite, extremely grateful for that ride, and integrity and singleness of purpose. It felt like God was there when Terrence spoke. Today we meet Jacob, God's sneaky rogue running from his angry brother Esau because Jacob, as I told the kids, had tricked his dad Isaac by putting on these skins with hair on them, and Isaac was blind, and he made sure he smelled like Isaac's favorite son Esau, and he made sure his arms felt like it. And Isaac was a bit suspicious, but his wife, who liked Jacob better than Esau, told him, well, no, this is Esau, don't worry. And he spoke the blessing to Jacob instead of Esau. And then Jacob knew, well, my brother's going to kill me after this or be very, very angry. And so Jacob started on the run. The run away from his family and toward what he hoped would be a blessing. Jacob, just like Terrence, was reaching for the top, except Jacob was sneaky and deceitful. And yet God's promises are bigger than any of our failings. And so while Jacob was reaching for the top by any tricky means he could come up with, God was still saying, I am going to bless you. But the top of my ladder is going to look different than you expect the top of your ladder to look. And so when Jacob falls asleep with this rock as a pillow in the barren wasteland, God grants a vision with a stairway to success. We are climbing Jacob's ladder. We are climbing Jacob's ladder. How do you define success? What does reaching the top of your ladder entail? It's kind of odd. Jacob isn't presented with an image of a bulging 401k for his vision, or a king's throne, or the word that Social Security will remain intact for him. There's no lakeside mansion, not even a walk-in closet, not even a basic tent in Jacob's vision for himself. What Jacob sees really is a challenge to me every day of my life, and probably is to you as well. I recently heard a parable that kind of fit this week in the story of Jacob. This week, the big question was, at least one day, which representatives from the state of Minnesota, now that the government is shut down, were going to take their salary, and which ones weren't going to take their salary. The parable goes like this. Once there was a hillside filled with thousands of people, and they were listening to a teacher. And they listened so long they became hungry, and the teacher was hungry too. And he found another man who had 2 fish and 5 loaves. And they found a table for 2, and they ate very well together. I've talked with many people this last couple weeks who are just finding themselves politically frustrated with both parties, because it seems no matter what happens to the economy, the political leaders, whichever party they are in, seem to continue eating pretty well. Jacob awakes, and he declares that he's seen his future success and his dream home of sorts before his very eyes. But it's not his dream home, and it's not his future success. He awakes and he says he has seen God's house. He's seen the angels ascending and descending, and they were serving God, not serving him. He says that he heard God that night in the dream, and God said, I am going to bless you and your family so all the nations of the world can be blessed by you and your family. I am going to enlist you as a servant to others. We are climbing Jacob's ladder. We are climbing Jacob's ladder. We are climbing Jacob's ladder, soldiers of the cross. Soldiers given to self-sacrifice, to the way of dying to personal needs and accepting the blows of others, but without retaliating. Soldiers of the one who took 2 fish and 5 loaves and blessed them and then gave them out. And if you reread the story, it doesn't say anything in that story about Jesus taking any food for himself. There are the words, though, that he spoke to Satan earlier. Man does not live by bread alone. My food is my Father's word. Are we climbing Jacob's ladder with the angels? Putting God in the center of everything and God's house first in our lives? Does reaching for the top in our lives, the best in our lives, mean first and foremost to ask God to use us as a blessing for someone else? I invite you to hear again the conclusion of what Lee read this morning and 3 verses after that. Jacob was up first thing in the morning, And he took the stone he had used for his pillow, and he stood it up as a memorial pillar and poured oil over it. And he christened the place Beth-el, meaning house of God. And Jacob vowed a vow, made a promise. If God stands by me and protects me on this journey on which I am setting out, keeps me in food and clothing, and brings me back to the place of my father's house, this God will be my God. And the stone that I set up will be a pillar of God's house. And of all that you give me, God, I will give you a tenth. Those are powerful words about what it means to reach for the top. Grace Church, you may have noticed, has been doing a lot of asking in the last few months. Asking for volunteers for serving, or donors for donating funds to a Thursday noon college meal, a luncheon, every Thursday this school year. Asking for donut buyers, and donut makers will never be turned away, will they, Judy? Yeah, or donut makers. Asking for Rolog, that was last week's piece. I missed it this week. Asking for Rolog workers from meatball making to long, well, the hours have been shortened this year, but still long hours to the close and serving in between. Asking to be remembered during the summer when people are away, to be remembered in offerings and gifts. Asking for communion servers on August 7th. Lee's reminder that people eat in July, so please give to the food shelf as well. You'll be asked this fall to consider giving to Imagine No Malaria. We have reminders about the importance of apportionments. We ask you to remember others in your thoughts and your prayers all through the week, and we name them for you. Sometimes you'll be asked to forgive your neighbors. We do a lot of asking around here because we claim that being a Christian is learning to live and love like Jesus, and to reach for what Jesus put at the top of his life. And I hope that each time you are asked, it won't feel like a burden. I hope each time we are asked, we will think of Terence and of Jacob and of Jesus, and simply thank God for the reminder to put first things first. So go ahead, reach for the top. Reach for the top. The chance for God to use you as a blessing for someone else. Amen.